What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to share the best way to handle all the shit tests that girls will give you, both how to identify them and then pass them with ease. Now, an essential part of being really good at handling shit tests actually is understanding the difference between a shit test and a concern or an objection. They can look somewhat similar, which is why it can be confusing, but they are pretty different in nature and should be handled completely differently. Let's start off with a concern. That's basically when a girl tells you something that she's concerned about. She's looking for you to put her at ease, reassure her. And if you try to go too cocky and funny here, or try to handle this like a shit test, you might just make her more paranoid, and which will lead to her just disappearing on you. So let me walk you through an example of this. So this was a girl who I invited straight to my place, after some conversation, and she responds with a concern. You want to meet at your place, straight to the lines then. What if you don't like me? So it's very important. This is not a shit test. She's legitimately concerned about coming straight to my place. And her concern is, what if I don't like you? It's going to be awkward. We're going to be stuck at your place. I don't really want that, right? So I handle this concern with a combination of humor and logic and empathy. So I say, haha, I was going to meet you in the lobby to make sure you're not a big black guy. We can have a drink on the patio. So what I'm doing here is three things. First of all, I'm using humor to kind of diffuse the situation a little bit, to add a little, add a little lightness to it. And then I say, well, we're going to meet in the lobby, which is a public place. I don't need to say that, but that point comes across. So if we don't like each other, it'll be less awkward. It's going to be other people around. We can just kind of part ways. Really, it's no different than meeting at a bar. That's what I'm sub-communicating here. And the third part is, I was going to meet you in the lobby, which means, hey, I understand your concern because I actually have the same exact one. So, I understand where you're coming from. And, with those three things, communicating that message, the girl winds up, saying, okay, and then she winds up coming straight over. Next up, we have objections. Now, these are actually really similar to concerns with one key difference. It's that a girl is typically looking for more than just reassurance with an objection. She's typically looking for you to take some kind of action that will either, placate her or put her at ease. Typically just words or text won't be enough. No amount of humor or logic or empathy is really gonna cut it. She wants some kind of action. So let me walk you through an example. This was the same type of thing. I invited this girl straight to my place, but I get met with a different reaction. She doesn't just say, what if we don't like each other, which is a concern. She says, I love wine, but let's meet at a bar. So she's more of a forceful statement. At this point, I'm still trying to gather more information. So I say, stranger danger, I presume. And she says, I think it's wise to always meet someone in a neutral place. And the key word here is always. So basically, she's objecting to the idea of coming straight to my place, which is a pretty reasonable position because if I was a 100-pound blonde girl, I might also have reservations about going to a stranger's place. So here I have two choices. I can be like, fuck you, just come over to my place, which, I would never do because that would just be stupid. Or I can acknowledge her objection and take some kind of action to, put her at ease. And in this situation, really the only kind of action that will work is to meet her in public and have a few drinks and then pull her back to my place, which is what I did in this situation. Now, an important thing to keep in mind is that it's not totally black and white. Sometimes an objection has the potential to turn into concern. So for example, if you're talking to the girl long enough and you talk on the phone for a while, she might go from, I will not go to any person's house who I don't know, to, I typically don't go to anyone's house who I don't know, but you seem pretty cool. So, promise you're not a serial killer, which is more of a concern. And finally, we have shit tests. So a shit test is when a girl says something just to see your reaction. There's no underlying concern. There's nothing that she needs reassurance on. There's no action that she's hoping you take. It's simply she's saying this because she wants to see how you're going to react. Are you going to stay cool and unfazed, or are you going to get reactive? Are you going to start justifying yourself? Are you going to get overly logical? Are you going to change the topic, showing that you're not comfortable? Are you going to try to clumsily escalate? There's really nothing that the girl is hoping for other than the fact that you will stay cool and unfazed, which is how you pass a shit test. So for example, if you're sexting a girl, she might say something like, yeah, that's what every guy says. Shit test. So what are some possible ways you could respond? You could say, no, comma, I'm actually really good in bed. Last girl, I made her come 10 times and blah, blah, blah. Now, some guys might think that's a good response, but in reality, what you're doing is you're getting reactive to her statement and you're justifying yourself, you're explaining yourself, which is a fail. You could say something like, no, I'm great in bed, what's your schedule like, I'll prove it to you, which is escalating on a shit test, which is also a fail. You could say, no, comma, anyway, what do you do for fun? Changing the topic, which shows you're not comfortable, which is a fail. Or you could say something like, don't worry, comma, I'm special, with a winky face, which shows that you're fully comfortable with what she's saying, you don't give a shit, it doesn't faze you, you're just cocky and funny and showing some humor, which is a pass. So I'll walk you guys through a few, shit testing with examples of responses that I think will drive this point home. All right, so first off, we got a cute French girl who I met back when I lived in LA. I open her with the infamous "Hey Trouble," big surprise, and she gives me a pretty aggressive shit test right off the bat. She says, do you call me trouble, you sex addict? So she's referring to my 50 Shades of Grey style bio, and she wants to see if I'm gonna remain congruent to it, or am I gonna change my story, Am I gonna try to justify myself, get defensive? Am I gonna show that I'm uncomfortable by changing the topic? And obviously I'm not gonna do any of that. Instead, I'm going to simply own the frame. And I just respond with, yes, I did. Simple, just owning it, and then you can see by her response that shit test passed. All right, another very similar situation. This girl gives me a bit more of a subtle shit test. When I say, hey, trouble, she says, if I'm trouble, what does that make you? So she's shit testing my bio a little bit more. She's talking about the opener, like, oh, that's a flirty opener. Are you gonna remain congruent to it, or are you gonna be like a little beta bitch? So I passed this shit test by owning it like I did with the last one, but this time I also see an opportunity to flip it around on her and make her be the one that's qualifying. That like I'm the one that's giving her a shit test. So I own it by saying, oh, I know I'm trouble, and then I flip it around by saying, hope you are at least a bit too. And you can see by her response, shit test passed. All right, now we got a little bit of a different example. This girl, the conversation had already been underway, and I asked her what she's looking for on Tinder, and she responds with, don't know yet, it's my first time. I'm an old-fashioned prude princess, so not sure how to handle casual quite yet, but I'd like to change my ways. I applaud her spirit. And she says, it's clear what you're looking for, or is it a joke? That last message is what really drives this point home. This is a shit test. When she says, or is it a joke? So a good way to fail this would be try to deny it, try to justify myself, or just changing the topic or trying to escalate on that. Instead, I'm going to implicitly own the frame. And the reason in this situation I'm not explicitly owning it is that because this is a topic that has potential to cause a lot of anti-slut defense. I don't want to do that, especially the vibe she's been giving me off is that she's a bit more reserved. So I don't want to be too explicit and pass the shit test, but then trigger her anti-slut defense. I know I can pass the shit test implicitly, and then I can also flip around on her. I do this by saying, no worries, I'd be happy to spank the princess right out of you. And again, you can see by her response, shit test passed. And then last situation. This was a girl who I had been sexting with a little bit. And I say, if I was to bend you over, grab a fistful of your hair and slap your ass. And then she says, just once, and you expect me to submit? So this is a common, shit test that you'll get, if you're sexting a girl or you're going a bit more, explicit over text. So a good way to fail this, again, would be to try to justify myself or get overly logical. Oh, I'm actually going to spank you 3.6 times and leave a mark on your ass that's about this. Like, I'm not going to do any of that. Simply going to own it and then shit test her. I say, don't be silly. We both know you're going to require a good hard spanking. And you can see by her response, you know how bad I've been. That shit test passed. So by now, I'm sure you noticed the common theme when it comes to passing shit tests. Owning everything. You're not trying to justify yourself. You're not trying to argue. You're not trying to debate it. You're not getting overly logical or defensive. You're not showing that you're uncomfortable by changing the topic. You're simply owning whatever she throws at you. And by doing that, you stay very congruent and pass the shit test. Now, sometimes you also get the opportunity to flip it on her. The key component here is that first you have to own what she throws at you before you can flip it on her. Otherwise, you create an adversarial frame, which, rapidly will spiral downhill. So when it comes to passing shit tests, you have really two options. Owning it and flipping it on her. And that's how you pass shit tests. Now, if you guys want to see more examples, go to playingfire.com and click Love Reports. I have dozens upon dozens of lay reports in there with all the screenshots from start to finish, showing you exactly what you need to do. Also, check out the forums where I'm just always sharing, my latest and most advanced concepts. A lot of very, very good stuff in there, along with a lot of stories and lay reports that you guys haven't seen anywhere else. And of course, make sure you pass the most important shit test of your life right now and smash that subscribe button to help me get to 5,000 subscribers. Thank you for watching, and until next time.